Did you know that metaphors activate broader neural networks across the brain that direct language does not inspire, such as emotion, connecting it with the repetitive act of revisiting the metaphor in order to gain deeper insight, relating it to simple mundane things like give us our daily bread, therefore you start to activate higher brain centers and you literally start to salivate. The brain is complex and multisensory visuals is what encourages neuroplasticity. That is what rewires limiting beliefs. So I started to study how people suppress themselves and try to shame themselves out of a spiral, out of sin, and that is where I started to connect it with the verse in the Bible. The verse, put to death therefore whatever belongs to your earthly nature, sexual immorality, impurity, lust, evil desires, and greeds, which is idolatry. Because of these, the wrath of God is coming. In scripture, God placed the tree of right and wrong because to love is to have the option to choose, and this applies to neuroscience. Because to love yourself out of a shame spiral, out of a pattern, out of sin, is to acknowledge the dual nature of emotion, and how hosting your emotions as you oscillate from high intense good emotions to bad emotions is where you will encounter self-compassion and deep self-acceptance. When God said this is idolatry, your brain doesn't know the difference between good attention or bad attention, just that repetitive acts is what fire and wires neurons and new forms of thinking, feeling, and being. And if you place your attention on identifying with these labels, then you idolize these labels more than your free will and it will rule you. You take on the role of these labels, identifying with it will give it more power unconsciously rather than weakening it at the root, which was never about suppressing but about not idolizing and worshiping adopted labels or beliefs as yours. That means not engaging with the belief as saying if it's right or wrong, but rather dropping it from your identity completely and even from your language, because you may unconsciously wire these neurons whenever you are complaining or venting or repeating habits. Another confirmation that this was already written in scripture is in the verse when he goes on to say, you must also rid yourself of all such things as these anger, rage, malice, and filthy language from your lips. Then you will have put on the new self, which is being renewed by knowledge in the image of its creator.